It's interesting as I know the judges put the stamps on before the tournament. They open the packs and just make sure that they record the packs just to
I
make
wonder
sure
if
that
there'll
they
be
could
stamps on
trace. Yeah, people
like
some would
little.
hide. Some would hide the stamp. You can still notice if you know it's there, but it's like a black stamp on a very dark part of the art. But others are like,
And our round has started. But as a final thought, I wonder if there will be like a little holographic stamp in the corner of hex cards that have been played in high level play. So, Metronomy, opening hand available to us, playing Wild Sapphires. This is
we wanted a
another
different deck.
situation where Sapphire is split in a way we weren't expecting. We did talk about how we thought Mono-Sapphire was the most legitimate way to take Sapphire. Playing against PieceTinker, whose opening card is a Sapphire with the follow-up of a Sapphire. Looks like the Mono-Sapphire situation is real with a tunneling card coming down. There are about two cards that could be.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
interesting, isn't so is Peacetinker and Future on the same team?
I well, not on the same team in here, but on the same team.
Not in here. Okay.
They are
They're on the
playing
same
on
team,
separate. They
but
are on the
not on the same
same
team.
testing group, not in the same team. It has nothing to do with splitting. Metronomy is playing his regular deck. There we go. Nero Genius had the same reaction I did. Wild Sapphire, that's my favorite combination. So we see the tunnel from both sides. Peacetinker playing a crackling vortex into a board with nothing else and then passes. Interestingly, it might look similar, but Peacetinker is not running Wyatt. Well, he is running Wyatt the Sapper, who is not Bertram Cragraven. So a difference in champions in addition to a difference in decks by the look of it, unless Peacetinker is just sitting off of his second shard here.
A peek from Peace Tinker lets him look at the top
Two.
two cards of his
Ooh,
deck and
and
take one to his hand. I was about
interesting. If he needs another shard to get like a card draw, maybe that was what that was about, or
Yeah.
maybe it
Peak
was just
peak
the
on
last time he's.
peak on low counts is usually I need a shard.
And it looks like he doesn't hit it. Had he hit a shard, he would gain a charge and also be able to draw a card, and that would be important here because on last turn, Metronomy did use Oracle Song, which the Oracle Song does draw him some extra cards. He's still sitting on 7 in hand. He can do a lot here, but he's got to consider what he actually does because he's playing into 3 resources against a Sapphire player.
the Metronomy is not want for cards.
No, could easily play cards here and just see what happens. Does
Goes
have the
back.
option of Chlorophylla into Oracle Song. Does have the option of either of those large troops.
This one here is really again the question we had in an earlier match. If you're going to have something that gets countered, which threat or which card are you happiest to have countered here?
It looks like he's taking the chance on the Wrathwood Mastermost, and the Mastermost just hits the board. Potentially because Peacetinker has a way to deal with it in hand. Like if you have a Buccaneer and a counter magic there, do
It's
you
not looking
counter?
like it though. It's another
Uh,
peek.
it is another peak. Although we saw that he wanted that shard before, so maybe he just really wants it now. Got a chance to look at again the top 2 cards of his deck, draw another card, and we're not seeing a snap shard here, so there is
At the
the
very
Buccaneer.
least,
Now, he's going to Buccaneer that Wrathwood, and that's unfortunate for Metronomy because it looks like Peacetinker has Reese the Crust Crawler Underground. It's a super safe assumption here, and Metronomy is not going to get his Reese first, and as of this second, doesn't actually have a way to deal with it.
Yeah, a little bit of a rough spot here for Metronomy. You can attempt to race, and it looks like that's what he's going to go for here. Putting down the Eldritch Dreamer, presumably with the card draw gem on it.
It's
Although with
almost
Wild
certainly
Sapphire.
it could have been Spell Shield, and it's not, or you would see the icon. That is almost certainly the deal damage draw card, because if it isn't, that double threshold means that Eldritch Dreamer was quick. Reese surfaces, and surfaces into 0 resources on the opposing side of the board. Looks like PieceTinker isn't, again, windmill slamming a shard, so is just going to have what he has in
Whatever.
hand, which is 7 cards. He's not hurt for cards.
Notably, though, Metronomy has many charges stored up, the ability to get a 6th charge, and um, his charge power makes worker bots, which this Reese is going to change into things that are possibly not worker bots. So although PieceTinker has Reese out first, it is Metronomy that'll be able to use it more and more
If it resolves.
if it
And here
resolves. But
surfaces hits, and it is snap countered. To which Metronomy has no response, interestingly. Draws into another like late game situation. The longer this game goes, the worse for PieceTinker. Looking at this hand, I think you probably swing here, draw your card, and see what your options are. But I know my line of play would almost certainly involve. Well, I don't know. That's hard to say. It's a lot. It's a lot more rough for Metronomy now because he knows PieceTinker can't mastery next turn. That would be near impossible.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much we want to openly talk about the cards here because there's definitely some interesting options here.
It's on a 5-minute delay, so and it, I mean my word isn't good enough, but I know PieceTinker isn't watching the mainstream.
I mean, the ideal scenario would have been drawing the extra shard, going Chlorophylla Mastery, and
Yeah, of
and
course.
just continuing developing the resources and drawing more cards. Right now, if I'm in Metronomy spot, I think once I'm able to get my troops down that I'm going to win. I would probably go ahead and go for the mastery here anyway. I'd want to keep trying to use it as sort of a resource ramper, so to speak, by just drawing more cards and hopefully getting another shard this next turn. I think that's probably what I would do if I was in his spot here.
he hovers over the Wrathwood Master Moss, the 5 cost.
I mean, that would stop a swing with Reese. Like, that stops the swing, I guess. You also get to put your charge power down here, which you no longer have to save because it's going to be a while before a Reese surfaces, and you're not going to play one from your hand here.
Yeah, this assumes that we're not going to see another Buccaneer from PieceTinker, which is probably a fair assumption because PieceTinker probably would have bounced the Dreamer there if he had one.
Yeah. We see that 4th shard finally into Cerulean Mirror Knight, drawing a card after playing his Cerulean Mirror Knight. A little bit of a PieceTinker punt. He's well known for being a bad player, I would say. Not a. Okay, so PieceTinker is like the newest, one of the newest people in our playtesting group, and he's kind of a younger guy, so we give him crap all the time. So I apologize. That was unprofessional. It's not my fault. He's bad though. So we see Metronomy passing off his main one here to see what's going to happen, and PieceTinker is holding and using a Time Ripple to stop the Eldritch Dreamer from finding another card, also from dealing 3 damage. Interesting that he's choosing to do it before attackers are declared.
Yeah, I think that's okay though because Dreamer is one of the key cards and really that's the only profitable attacker on this board. If you attack in with the Master Moss, he just ends up blocking and either chumping or even trading with it there.
Yeah, I was that is the case. We have a special announcement. TJ Taylor has won the alternate art Cerulean Mirror Knight that Nero Genius donated between this last couple of rounds.
Woo!
So congratulations on your alternate art Cerulean Mirror Knight. I'm jealous. I want to play and get door prizes. So congratulations, Taylor, and thank you again for the door prize, Nero Genius. Your generosity is very rarely succeeded by anyone.
Good guy, Nero. That's a great prize.
So Metronomy does opt to replay the Eldritch Dreamer.
Mm.
Create another
which
worker bot.
is again an interesting choice here. Uh, I'm not so like I would be terrified that I only had a couple more turns to get my board position down. So I think if it was me, I'd be racing to get my Chlorophylla and Oracle songs out, or maybe even the Howling Brave. That's me. That's not the right line of play. I think the Elder Streamer might be the right line of play, but I would just be scared.
Well, the upside of replaying the Dreamer right there is it's not going to get countered. It's still putting PieceTinker back on the do you have Buccaneer or Time Ripple to deal with this. I think Dreamer is still one of the better cards, especially in this board state, just being the only troop that can punch through.
And I PieceTinker agrees as he plays one of his own.
Yep. We see the random worker bot coming from Reese.
Yeah, that worker bot being transformed into a worker bot. Now, see, this is maybe the turn where things happen. We can see Metronomy considering it.
Yep, I still think you attack first here. Just see what you get.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free attack here, right? The only thing you're possibly opening yourself up to is like a big swing. I mean, but even with a Buccaneer, it looks like PieceTinker only pushes through 6, 7, 8, 9 damage.
Like,
is that
yeah,
correct?
if you Chloro, Brave, and Mastery, and that puts you on that
9.
other big card, yeah, right now.
And it looks like that may be what he's going after. 1 Brave, he's at 8 resources, and that Mastery of Time.
Yeah. So he pulls the trigger because we know this means next turn he'll be able to play not an unbeatable troop, but a troop that is nigh unbeatable. It is
strong.
very, very difficult to deal with. It's been a while since I think we've even seen one, for what it's worth. Wrathwood Colossus kind of losing its spot in decks to the Arborean Rootfather, really. Sapphire Wild, still strong, but kind of falling to the Sapphire, to the Wild Ruby style ramp decks. Wrathwood Colossus gains you 9 health when it comes into play, and if it dies, goes back to your hand. Never goes to the graveyard unless you bury it in some manner.
It is still the defensive threat, just giving you that boatload of health. Arborean Rootfather often used more offensively.
Yeah. Wrathwood Colossus does have Crush, though, which the Arborean Rootfather doesn't have. And that Crush means, especially with the Steadfast also tagged on, that it can swing, and even if it does get traded against, it just goes back to hand, right? So it looks like also swinging with the Wrathwood Master Moss here. An interesting choice, I suppose, just trying to clear up some of the board before PieceTinker gets too out of hand. But that's really in Mirror Knight inspired at least the Charge Hulk, right?
Right.
So this is going to be a card draw for PieceTinker, which is probably not the ideal.
Actually,
you don't
does it? I don't think it did.
Yeah, the Charge Hulk was. The Charge Hulk drew him a card. The Warbot wasn't. The Charge Hulk was.
Right. There was 1 card draw there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That just clears away some of the defense from the board. Makes it a little bit easier for the Wrathwood to get through on future turns. Looks like Metronomy going to go ahead and put all the troops out there using the charge power as well too.
He's really got no fear in doing so. Like, even like, what's the worst case here? Yesterday is still, like, I mean, that Wrathwood Colossus is basically immune to bounce. Like, it doesn't care. It wants to go back to the hand. That's 9 more health every time.
So maybe it would be nice to have the charge power in case there would be a Grolk here and be able to have another blocker this next turn.
Yeah, but it's unlikely to be a Grolk, or you think you'd see PieceTinker have slammed it there. But I guess he didn't have the resources yet. He's drawn one off, perhaps the Dreamer here.
Right.
So now might be Grok time.
He does have Reese though, and Reese will at least create a worker bot at the end of his turn for Metronomy, were he to play it.
So here comes the Buccaneer. That's probably going to return the Eldritch Dreamer to hand. Maybe the Colossus. Yeah, it's going to return the Colossus to hand, but you know that's not what PieceTinker wanted to do. Like, he's doing that out of necessity to survive. Um, he knows, like, that
Ooh.
Wrathwood Colossus is just going to be brutal anyway. And Metronomy finding a potential answer to everything here, but he can't play the Wrathwood and the Mastery here.
Right. Yeah, I would again attack with the Dreamer, see what we get, but I would tend to think he's probably going to Mastery here on this turn. PieceTinker's low enough that just getting in a few more hits with the Dreamer is probably going to be enough to close the game. The only downside is, I guess, with the 2 resources, the only card you're really playing around is whether he's got the Verdict in hand or not.
And possibly playing around, trying to grab something to a verdict of his own, perhaps, if he's playing it. Considering an Oracle song, but actually not going through. Pointing out that 2 resources, it is in his mind.
I mean, a Verdict on the Mastery would not be great, but I think if you're only worried about Verdict here, Wrathwood is still a fine play. So he tries the Mastery, which does indeed get downvoted out. The Verdict of the Ancient Kings is no, you cannot play that. So Metronomy it will follow up with his Sapphire Shard, I believe.
I think he'll go for some extra cards.
Oracle Song first. This will be safe. He'll get to draw 2 cards. We'll see if any of them are of matter, and they don't seem to be. He does have 2 other resources available on board, though, so probably another Oracle Song here. Nope, just Sight of Sun.
And Sight of the Sun will allow him to replenish his resources and gain 1 health for each resource replenished in this way. We see things in his hand that certainly can spend resources.
Yeah. Obviously, it can't use its exhaust effect the turn it comes into play, but I mean, if it's a target for removal, that's basically everything PieceTinker could hope against, because he needs to deal with that Dreamer and the Wrathwood Colossus in hand. Like, he needs to be able to deal with both of those things. Because he's losing the Dreamer race, and he's not winning the Wrathwood race at all. A counter does deal with that Wrathwood to some extent, and a Mastery doesn't hurt PieceTinker here, but there's not enough Masteries to get him through for lethal. Armatron comes into play from the Reese creation, and will give its +1/+1 buff to the spam bot.
I'd actually almost forgotten that PieceTinker does have an active Reese. Just the robots haven't really been notable.
Well, the turns have been kind of slow. That's all. It's both players playing kind of a control-y style of deck, so they're thinking about what to do. So here we see the Eldritch Dreamer coming in again. Another card draw on this second turn for PieceTinker. So he's still got 7 cards in hand.
I think I would have attacked with a few more troops on that turn.
Well,
Like even if your opponent ends up trading with a few of them, like that's fine. And you need to be able to kill before, like, you have to have the counter for the Wrathwood.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be able to race, right?
Right. And if you're not attacking, it's going to be pretty hard for you to race back here.
Here comes the Sapphire into Metronomy's hand. He's got enough resources to do anything. Trakhs, Trakhs. Your opponent is restarting his client. The graphical user interface bugged out on him. There was no chat, and Buccaneer didn't give him a prompt to click. Now, this is kind of maybe like a sign of weakness here. PieceTinker drawing his peak during combat there. No longer holding up 5 resources, which would be the magic number for counter verdict. Finds a card, and is it going to be the card he needs?
Yeah, maybe PieceTinker was hoping that Metronomy would attack with some more troops, maybe allow him to lose a troop and draw a card.
Maybe just looking for the bounce there because he has nothing else. Hard to tell. A Grolk here is PieceTinker's game at the moment. Well, no.
There's some safety things.
That Oracle song finally finding some safety for Metronomy. I mean, granted, it's not perfect. It's
No, those are good draws for sure.
definitely good draws.
I think it's just what combination does he go for right now? It's like he'll get himself to 10. 10 resources with the double Calling Brave. Along with the 10 cost Wrathwood Colossus, hovering over, just making sure that is the play.
Yeah, the potential here.
There is a
Now,
counter magic.
There's the counter, but do you refresh your resources and counter the counter?
I believe
Or do you
so.
just let it happen?
PieceTinker is out of resources.
That's true, but do you still lose to Grolk next turn? Do you hold that counter for Grolk or do you use it now? Because that's 3,
So-
5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, potentially 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, I mean,
He is
PieceTinker,
about to,
yeah.
He's going to gain 9 though.
Yeah, PieceTinker can't kill him with, if that Wrathwood hits the board, a Grolk is not enough for lethal, so perhaps you do counter the counter.
But he is letting it resolve. He does
I
have tons
feel-
of resources though.
I feel like it's okay because with this many resources, Metronomy can still play another threat and hold up counter.
Like that other card he's hovering over and playing, and a second Eldritch Dreamer. PieceTinker is at 5.
Yeah, because this still, especially that particular card, having double Dreamer there says that PieceTinker is dead this next turn anyway.
Is that his final answer?
Thinking about whether he wants to pass turn to his opponent. And he does. PieceTinker gets the reins of this match for the first time in a little while. And we'll see what he's able to do with those 6 cards, 7 resources. Stormcloud comes down. Ambush resource. Probably popping that Stormcloud to draw another card. If I had to guess.
In addition, two of the Stormlings have the ability to stop additional damage from those Eldritch Dreamers. Either doing 4 damage to that exhausted Eldritch Dreamer or exhausting it during the next turn.
PieceTinker finally pulling the gun on all these extra attackers. All right. So just as a heads up, guys, just to confirm something that happened last round, Battlefy is actually having a technical issue where ties are not able to be reported. That it was not something that we could have prevented. So they are looking into it, and it will probably be fixed by the end of the day, or I imagine it will be. They're looking into it, but yeah, ties will not be available for our tournament. Our bad. Well, not our bad. I don't feel bad at all for that.
So looking, so
There's
that
a
decision.
counter on the mastery. Oh, that's brutal. You have to wonder, seeing this play here, you have to wonder if PieceTinker had a verdict in hand. Because if he had a verdict in hand, that Stormcloud could have. Well, wow. That Stormcloud could have been enough to have, like, taken him out of the resource range he wanted to.
Well, this is the Storm Cloud that he wants to see. The Thunder Puff here does buy him another per turn. because he's able to exhaust it on one of the Dreamers here.
Like, of course. Of course it's that one. We've seen a little bit of chat.
That's random. Sometimes you get the good one.
So many resources.
Yeah, between the acceleration and also the extra cards drawn, there's really a lot of resources out here.
It's not 100 resources, but it is a lot.
It is a lot. Head verdict, by the way. Back at that time, Hacky, I had.
All right. Well, here we see Metronomy still considering what plays, if anything, he wants to make. He does decide that he wants to tunnel.
No, he doesn't.
He did not.
He
Just
plays.
plays it.
Plays Reese.
Oh, my mistake.
Probably due to the fact that he can now use Sight of the Sun to regain much health very well.
And that is a hand dump.
That is a hand. Now, again, PieceTinker needs to be able to answer both Eldritch Dreamers. I don't think he can push through lethal here, and he has to answer those Eldritch Dreamers as soon as possible. And he has to do that with his opponent holding up
And
the
Jadim.
most. Yeah. Oh, and Jadim, yeah.
And Jadim. Jadim is also
with only
lethal here.
a 2 in 34 chance of a 3 in 34 chance of finding a flying robot off Reese.
Super flighting robot.
Yeah, a super flighting robot, an Inducticopter bot, a Tarot bot, and I've seen it create a Hornet bot, so I guess that, but again, I'm pretty sure it shouldn't create Hornet bots. Grumble.
3, 9, 12.
It's a lot of damage,
19,
but it's not
19
enough.
attack.
Yeah. Like, Metronomy could let it through here. So he needs Grolk plus counter. I mean, there's a lot of things he could use. Grolk is strong, but not impossible. Yeah, the Thunderpuff thing has just happened. If that, we just saw that recently.
Yeah, but I think if PieceTinker had the Grolk, he probably would have pre-combated it there.
That's a pretty good match, game one here.
It is a slow methodical match, and we do have less than half of the time in the round remaining.
So we see Metronomy letting a lot of this damage through. Again, was in no real danger here. And there's the Grolk follow-up. Wonder if that's topped off the Dreamer. So this is the counter. 8 cards in PieceTinker's hand. Is one of them a verdict or a counter? It is. That is still not game. Or is it? It's just about game. Because no matter really what Metronomy does next turn, he's not going to be able to block all that damage, is he?
Yep, he's dead.
That was the risk from dumping the hand, just not being able to come back with any sort of defense after a Grolk.
It is debatable to some extent, right? Like, PieceTinker needed a counter and a Grolk.
He had it.
But he did have 8 cards in hand, so really. Ah, yes. Mastery would have been a victory. Could have top decked Mastery and been good. Top deck Mastery, in fact, was victory guaranteed because PieceTinker no longer has the resources to counter or verdict. So.
And Mastery would be guaranteed, and even Grolk would have been fine if he's playing that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's weird because PieceTinker spent a lot of that game on low resources. So.
So that GG was retyped for a while as he went over the board again. That is a lot of mail. I just noticed that too.
They'll get into their next game here pretty soon. Um, I mean, look, there's a lot of conversation. I mean, Mono-Sapphire is always going to be decent here in the current meta, even if all the decks are built around it. It's still going to be pretty decent. And to answer your question, Metronomy, I don't think you punted. Both lines of play had pros and cons. So, I mean, in the long run, it turned out it would have been better, but I'm not sure if it was a punt.
The biggest thing I remember from that turn was if you're going to go for the mastery line and you're going to go for the Oracle song as well, you might as well play the Oracle song first.
Now, at this moment, there is less than 24 minutes in the round. So that means Metronomy does need to win this match within 24 minutes, right?
Yeah, Metronomy is going to need some fast wins in order to be able to pull this out.
That is always the risk of playing a control deck in a timed limited time round tournament. Just needing to be able to win in the time allotted.
I think it's possible though, like just from looking at Metronomy's deck, like he's got the Jadeem, and if he gets Jadeem with pretty much anything and it doesn't get countered, he can win fast enough.
No, I believe it.
Yeah, Mono-Sapphire's got a lot of ways to disrupt that, but it is possible. And just to respond to one of the comments, yes, it's true. Whoever wins the first game in a control match oftentimes wins. But when you're on, you can't plan that you're going to win every single time because it's just not the way that these games work. So you have to have a plan to be able to win fast if it happens. Like I said, just from looking at the deck that Metronomy has, I think he's capable of it if he gets a little bit lucky here.
He will be on the play here, which is important. Getting that resource out before PieceTinker does.
Well, that's awkward.
On the plus side, you can play it. On the downside, it's not fast.
Well, didn't PieceTinker just choose to play there?
No, I know he did. There's... That's weird. It's probably in his whispers, and you don't get a notification if you change screens. Your whisper notification goes away if you change screens on the homepage now. The new chat system is really trolling. I think if this is like a legitimate mistake, you just hit escape and concede out here and then ask to play first, regardless of what's in your hand. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we will be doing all the full deck list. I don't think TGM was trying to be snarky. He is juggling multiple chats here, so he probably just gave you a quick and brief answer.
I mean, I do expect. I'm spoiled by the 5 shards coverage. Deck lists are up pretty quickly.
And we try to put them up as soon as possible.
We still don't have our undefeated VIP deck list from 2 weeks ago.
Now,
There's always a couple of those decks that you look at and it's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Did not expect something like that to win, but there it is.
they're probably going to agree to restart here.
People living the dream with their starter deck VIP.
But Dualithic, you can't add an ellipsis and another word and be like, yeah, that's what he said. You can't do that in text. It doesn't work.
Looks like
Maybe if
they
that
are
always was in all capitals.
still chatting about how to resolve this here.
Oh, Zadi, the Data Dragon actually mentioned having scripts to recently completed scripts, and that recently meaning like months ago, to automatically take deck lists from a tournament and post them. So pretty sure they just have not gotten around to it. That should be pretty easy for them to do. I mean, they have the tournament data. They know what decks were entered and did well.
Okay, well, they've agreed that if Metronomy isn't on the play, they will restart, and Metronomy is, in fact, not on the play, so this will be a restarted match. PieceTinker says, sorry. Resolved between the players pretty peacefully. Definitely a problem with the chat. If you were watching there, PieceTinker did say he whispered. But, again, those whispers disappearing between runes. Between in-game rooms, you know what I mean? Like, if you change from the Proving Grounds to the deck builder, it's so weird.
Colin explaining Data Dragon's family recently expanded. That could explain it.
Aw, congratulations, Data Dragon. Yep, TV in the background. I am on push to talk for that reason, but I can't deal with it when I'm not talking.
So we have the restarted hands here.
The dragon's other horde.
And frankly, this looks like a better starter for Metronomy anyway. Not really that it was intended to work out this way, but I think this one is probably better than what we saw previously anyway.
It is one of those hands, though. 2 shards going first. Then again,
I mean, you've got something you can do on turn 2-ish.
it is. Then that is an extra card.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like playing Munario Sensei, and if that was a Munario Sensei instead of what it is, this would be a snap keep, so...
Oh, and that second draw is actually really good.
It is.
Or first draw.
Is that Flight Shield?
I can't tell. They're covered up. I didn't catch it.
That would be my guess in the dark, yeah.
I see a single Sapphire, so that's either... Yeah, it's got to be Flight with only one word next to it, and then the double is either Rhinos or Shield.
And conveniently just showing us, unintentionally, he uses the ability Arborian Father shuffled into, put into his deck rather, and enables him to draw a card. PieceTinker on 2 Sapphire. Metronomy drawing well now. As that Howling Brave and 3 resources will, unless it's stopped, allow plays next turn.
And like you did correct yourself, but it is also worth noting, Arborian Rootfather will not shuffle your deck when you use that ability. So if you put a troop onto the top of your deck and then use Arborian Rootfather's ability, you will draw that troop or the Arborian Rootfather in the slightly more rare chance that you put it on top.
I'm so used to shuffling decks in physical card games that the recent change where many things that put cards into your deck don't actually shuffle your deck is an interesting and relevant difference. Anyway, Cerulean Mirror Knight down for PieceTinker.
I gotta say, one of the other things that's nice is you can do this at the end of turn, and you don't have to wait on your opponent to be shuffling their deck. That is one of the most annoying
Oh,
things about playing in real life.
Waiting for your opponent to shuffle is the worst. We currently can't do ties, so the 1-0 person. Well, the 1-0 person would win in that situation anyway. So
so end of turn root father actually draws more resources, and that was a shard of whatever Sapphire Wild is. I don't know my dual shards by heart, but that is the second Sapphire for Metronomy to enable both of those cards in hand.
it would be intelligence and the wild, so instinct, I think.
Yeah, it's instinct. That's fine. But here we see Buccaneer to go ahead and put Dreamer back in the hand for another turn. Yeah, really, really good curve out for PieceTinker here, having the Tunnel Troop on two, and then the CMK and the Buccaneer to answer the one big threat that Metronomy's put out so far.
Yeah. Which is really fortunate because it could have been an explosive chain of turns with those masteries coming out there. Could have just been Dreamer Swing into Dreamer Swing into Dreamer Swing. At the very least, that's 9 damage in 3 cards. That final turn would have at the very worst an Oracle Song.
Yep. We see the third tunnel counter go on.
Oracle is by far the weirdest word in the Hex world. I mean, I know Oracle is like a real word, but Oracle has always like looked so silly to me. Here comes the second Buccaneer. PieceTinker, again, just showing how much he disrespects Hex, playing regular Buccaneers, even though I've goaded him about it multiple times.
Jeez. Not everyone can be a baller, Penta.
It's not about that. It's about the fact that I told him to not be bad. To everyone using regular Buccaneers, you're fine, but not PieceTinker. So both of those Buccaneers naturally inspired by the CMK. That tunneling troop coming up soon. No immediate or pseudo answer, even really for Metronomy. This is considerably different
I
of a
mean,
game.
he does have an option of playing that resource in Oracle Song and hoping to draw counter magic, but that's a stretch.
Yeah, you'd almost be safer just seeing a second draw off of a mastery here.
Yeah, I think I do agree that I like the Oracle Song because your backup plan ends up being to play the secondary card there.
Indeed. But instead, he decides to face whatever's tunneled head on, hits a
Didn't-
time ripple from
Oh
PieceTinker.
man,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
Didn't matter anyway, because now the
Didn't
Ultra
matter.
Streamer is never returning. Well, I mean, that's not true. Yeah, Oracle into counter magic was certainly a possibility as well. So that's what I think JJ Hackey and myself were kind of leaning towards was Oracle to
Yep.
see if you hit the counter, and if
Right.
you didn't into WMM. But obviously that would be bad as well because the time ripple is there. Here comes the Reese double Buccaneer swing. No good options for defense on Metronomy's side of the board,
He goes down to
and it's
8 health.
it's entirely possible that this is going to be the follow-up mastery here on the other side of the board.
Lowly little charge bot. At
Better
least
than
this
a
one can
worker bot, though.
attack.
Yeah, yeah, and a charge.
But 5 resources up for PieceTinker. Is a mastery of a time going to be able to resolve?
Yeah, like Metronomy is saying in chat right now, he needed the Dreamer to stick. Was his thought. Um, not the worst line. Not well.
And
I
it,
say that as if it is close to being the worst line. It's not a bad line at all.
as it turns out, there was not a counter magic in those top 2 cards.
Yeah, yeah, and even if your
Didn't
Elder
matter.
Streamer had been hitting, it wasn't really drawing. Like, it double mastery now. I think we would be seeing Sight, a shard, and one more card. So whatever that card is on the top of his deck. Well, in addition to 2 more. Sorry. He would have drawn cards on his turns. Can he defend against all this damage? Yes, technically survive another turn here.
That is, if this Master Mouse is just not stopped either through interrupt or through bounce or through being exhausted with a Gralk or the like.
You know, I almost wonder if like if you assume PieceTinker has nothing, which he probably does, but let's just assume he has nothing. Can the Sight of the Sun turn this around by going Dreamer plus Mastery next turn? Like you'd be able to chump block the Reese, and then yeah, I mean you'd end up being able to chump block the Reese, which is the only one that you have to block.
Right.
Mm.
He's at 8, so if it doesn't matter. There is a Gralk anyway.
Yep. So
that
it's
will be a
moot.
2-0 for PieceTinker.
A little unfortunate there for Metronomy, but I mean he does have almost 2,000 mails to read when he needs to, and most of those are probably from the auction house if you've been playing close enough attention. But that's his own personal business. I just think it's interesting that we've seen that mail counter go up every time we've come back to this screen. So those
When
were
it's
good
that high.
games.
When it's that
I personally, PieceTinker is on my testing team. I was rooting for Metronomy because I wanted Wild Sapphire to win, and so I could bug PieceTinker later about it. But